What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. So, Andy Ruiz beats Luis Ortiz over 12 rounds by unanimous decision. Now, I actually had Luis Ortiz winning that fight by a point. I had Luis Ortiz winning that fight by a point, but it was a close fight. And basically, what happened in the fight was that Luis Ortiz was outboxing Andy Ruiz. However, Andy Ruiz was able to get 3 knockdowns. And that proved to be the difference, most likely, because I think one of the judges had it 113-112. So if it wasn't for those knockdowns, that judge would have had Luis Ortiz winning the fight. The problem for Luis Ortiz is that he had the technical skill. He was able to use the southpaw stance to his advantage, and he was outboxing Andy Ruiz. But whenever Andy Ruiz let his hands go, it caused Luis Ortiz issues, and I think that's because of the speed and Luis Ortiz's age. Luis Ortiz is perhaps in his 50s or around his 50s. Lots of people say he is older than his listed age. So it's actually quite impressive if he is around 50 to be boxing, at this level. Either way, Luis Ortiz was outboxing Andy Ruiz on the outside using his jab. The jab wasn't always landing flush or landing at all, but it was keeping Andy Ruiz at a distance. And basically what would happen is Ortiz would be winning on the outside, and then either Luis Ortiz would take a gamble, move off his jab and actually start to throw his straight left hand or combinations, and then Andy Ruiz would throw with him and Andy Ruiz would get the better of it. That's basically what was happening most of the time. And I think that, after the knockdowns, Andy Ruiz kind of went for it, but he got caught in that second round as well after scoring 2 knockdowns. And the fight kind of, Andy Ruiz got a knockdown in the 7th, but apart from that, it really was a case of Luis Ortiz outboxing Andy Ruiz, and Andy Ruiz, whenever they got close, Andy Ruiz would get the better of it. But I actually had Luis Ortiz outboxing Andy Ruiz in multiple rounds. So it shows you that Andy Ruiz can be kept, can be tamed by a jab on the outside. Anthony Joshua being on the outside, Andy Ruiz can be tamed if kept at a distance. Now Luis Ortiz, he showed the technical skill that he has, he showed the punch power that he has, because I think he wobbled Andy Ruiz later on in the fight. I can't remember what round it was, and he definitely got Andy Ruiz's respect. Andy Ruiz wasn't just walking in there trying to unload. So Luis Ortiz showed his power, he showed his technical skill, he showed his experience. However, punch resistance. I think Luis Ortiz's punch resistance is not what it used to be. And that's possibly because of age, quite probably because of age, and also because of facing Deontay Wilder twice and getting knocked down twice. Being knocked out twice by Deontay Wilder. And then in his last fight against Charles Martin, he was down twice in that fight, once by a jab. So Luis Ortiz's punch resistance is perhaps now an issue, because obviously this fight as well, down 3 times. So is his punch resistance a real issue now? Probably. And that was the difference in this fight, most likely. Those scorecards probably would have looked very different if it wasn't for those knockdowns. So moving forward with regards to Luis Ortiz, is he going to continue? Because the problem is, even though he's got all the attributes, or he's got a lot of attributes that are great with regards to competing in the heavyweight division, if that punch resistance isn't there, then he's always going to run into trouble. And he could be winning a fight, winning every round, and then in round 12 get knocked out. So that's something Luis Ortiz needs to think about. And I think it's a real shame with Luis Ortiz. I like Luis Ortiz as a fighter. I think it's a real shame that he never got the opportunities when he was better. I'm not going to say his prime, because I reckon his prime may have even been before he was a pro. But certainly when he was fighting Tony Thompson, Brian Jennings, when around that type of time, Malik Scott, I think that he would have been a lot more competitive with the top fighters in the heavyweight division. I would pick Luis Ortiz. You see Luis Ortiz, how good he was when he fought Brian Jennings and Tony Thompson, Malik Scott. I would have picked Luis Ortiz then to beat Andy Ruiz now. So it's a shame. It's a shame because even if Luis Ortiz gets these fights with Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Usyk, it's not going to be how he would have been when he was better. So it's a shame. I think they definitely tried to avoid him when he was younger, and I reckon he probably, if anything, gets more opportunities now. So Luis Ortiz suffers his third career defeat. Andy Ruiz moves on. I mean, I actually had Luis Ortiz winning, but obviously it goes down as a win for Andy Ruiz. And obviously he got the decision, and he moves on. I hear people talking about Deontay Wilder. I think the Deontay Wilder, depending on how much Deontay Wilder has left, if Deontay Wilder has, is similar to how he was against Tyson Fury in the third fight, I'd be picking Deontay Wilder. I think Andy Ruiz doesn't move his head enough, and I think Deontay Wilder would be able to knock him out. But either way, it's still a fight I'd watch, and I need to see how much Deontay Wilder has left, because who knows? Does he beat Robert Helenius? That's not a foregone conclusion, because Robert Helenius can punch, can box, got better technical skill than Wilder. So that's not a foregone conclusion. And then obviously Wilder coming off, 2 defeats in a row, is it? So that's not a foregone conclusion. But either way, that's a fight I'd be interested in. Luis Ortiz, it's a real shame. I would like to say I'd like to see him in there with Anthony Joshua, Dillian White, but it's not the same for me. It's kind of like, you'd like to see him in those fights, or I'd like to see him in those fights, but his punch resistance is gone, and he's probably not as fast as he used to be, so it's almost like a shame. But I suppose, there could be a few matchups for him if he sticks around, but I reckon he should consider retirement as well. So what did you make of the fight? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video, and I'll see you on the next video.